Is he able to hear us?
Can you hear me?
It's done, but we have the echo.
Yeah, I not having any mobile on.
Okay. Can you check your audio system? Like, sort of. Are you like connected through your computer audio or through any other device?
Is this better? Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. Shall we begin, sir?
Let's do that.
Suresh, sir, is the recording on?
Just enable recording, Dr. Chandra. You can begin now.
Yes,
Okay, sir. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the core team, Mental Health Webinar Series, and the organizer, the Department of Psychology, the American College Madurai, and the associating partners, Madras School of Social Work, Chennai, MS Chellamuthu Institute of Mental Health and Rehabilitation, Madurai, Red Pond Educational and Psychological Research Center, Madurai, Yellow Pond Counseling Center, Madurai, and Psycho-Oncological Association, Turkey. We welcome you all to today's session 368. And today we have Mr. Dan Hansen with us. He is from Denmark. He is the Vice President of Enixta Innovations at Hyderabad. And he is also the CEO and founder of marketingvideos.com. He is the author of the best-selling book, The 12 Secret Languages. He is specialized in economics, photographic arts, marketing, and distribution. He might be familiar to some of us because we had him already on one session on memory improvement for next generation. And we are very happy to have you here again, sir. Now the session is over to you, and we are very eager to listen to you on personality. Thank you very much for being here. And now the session is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra. So I'll just share my screen here right away. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, Dan, we can hear. We can see your screen.
Yeah. Very good. So just this one go up. Yeah, but welcome everybody. Sorry for the little disturbance in the beginning here. So I'm going to talk a little. Well, I'll remove this one here. I want this up. Yeah, that's fine. So today we're going to talk a little about your memory personality, how your memory personality is created, how it is helpful for you to know about it, and we will have a look on a couple of cases today. Over the last couple of days, I have had a few people do the coaching session. It's partly Dr. Veena, and it was Shiv Kumar who requested, and I did the sessions with them. So the basis of the memory personality are the 12 secret languages. Those of you who joined in October, as Dr. Chandra mentioned, will already be acquainted with it. And today we will take a deep look into the 12 secret languages and how it's helpful to know about them. So first thing, of course, is to talk a little about why is it important to know about our memory personality. What does it mean with a memory personality? Well, the understanding of personality is that what you can remember is what creates your personality. That is the basic thinking. So by studying how we remember, and that is three phases: receiving, storing, and retrieving, we will build certain personalities, or we will create certain tendencies in ourselves. Now, memory dominates our behavior in all walks of life, and probably a lot more than we are aware of in our daily day. I have shown two streams of how memory affects our livelihood. Of course, it's also affecting us socially, but here I'm concentrating a little more on the work, corporate business side of life. So first thing is that the memory that we create is also deciding what kind of communication we do, because what we can remember is what we can communicate also. Now, how we communicate, what we can remember, will also decide what kind of teamwork we can have. Teamwork that is also including marriage life, family life, social life, but teamwork also, of course, in the schools, in the educational system, or if you're in corporates or in business. It is affecting what kind of teamwork, but it's also affecting what kind of conflicts will get involved in it. We will have a little look at that. There's a second stream here that is clearly showing how memory obviously gives us certain learning skills. There are some things we can easily remember and thereby easily learn. Some certain learning formats are better for us than others. Now, what is easy for us to learn will also depend on what kind of jobs we can be successful in. If it's easy for us to learn certain things, like I assume most of us today, we have some kind of psychological background. And there are certain languages you have to be very strong in to become a good psychologist. And probably if you had not trained those secret languages, you wouldn't be here today also. So what you can easily learn will also affect what kind of job profiling, what kind of career you get. What you can easily learn, that kind of job you will easily succeed with, but it will also affect the team roles you will have, because the kind of career, the kind of job profile you have will also give you certain roles that you can fulfill successfully or unsuccessfully. So what is today's takeaways? I have decided we will probably divide us, the next 30 minutes, I'm assuming we'll divide us in two groups. The first group, I will walk, maybe if you could, if I could have a mark, can you try and text how many of you have done the test today? I can also, if anybody of you, is there anybody of you who has done the test? If any of you, yes, I got a few messages here. A few people have done it. Okay, can those that did not do the test, can you please also write no in the text column? Yeah, I can see there's a little mix of people. That's fine, because I prepared the webinar accordingly. Yeah, that's okay. Thank you very much. So what I suggest we do is that we make a group 1 and we make a group 2. So group 1 stays with me here, and I will walk through. I'll make a quick walkthrough of how we create our memory and how our memory personality is created out of that. We will discover the 12 secret languages. It is somewhat like the October session. So this session is good for newcomers, or if you want a recap. Now, those of you in group 2 that would like to do the online test, if you have not already done it, those that would like to do the test to be able to understand a little better once we go into plenum and we start uncovering what we can actually learn from our memory personality. Those of you that would be interested to do the online memory personality test on the link that we have shared with you along with the invitation, the 12secretlanguages.com, you're very welcome to go there and do that. I'll just suggest that all of you, even if you want to do the test, I suggest that you stay online, stay with us here in the Zoom meeting, and just of course keep your microphone off, and then do the test. And then after around 30 minutes, I will call people to come and join again, and then both group 1 and group 2 will continue with the plenum. So if any of you want to go and do the test, you're very welcome to do that. I will just do a short introduction of myself, and then I will also show you how we can how you log in to the website, and if you haven't done a profile, we'll quickly have a look at that. But first, a little thing, a short thing about me. I'm from Denmark, as Dr. Chandra correctly mentioned. I've settled in India in Hyderabad. I came here because of spirituality. I'm following a meditation system called Heartfulness. So 8 years back, I shifted to India. My wife is Paka Hyderabadi, as she would say. I'm a Kendrick Kuhn, and I'm CEO of 2 companies. I'm a growth catalyst. So I help corporates and organizations, educational institutes, to help grow individually and teams. And I also sometimes do couple coachings when the need arises. I'm the founder of the 12 Secret Languages, which we are going through today. And I'm a 3-time author, and the last 3rd book here is I'm planning to release probably in the beginning of March. And the webinar content is based on this book here, as you can see here. So all the content I'm going to walk you through here today, you can find here, and a lot more, obviously. So this is the book I'm going to release in a couple of weeks. The first couple of days, I'm going to sell the ebook for $1 or pretty much for free. So those of you who are interested, you just WhatsApp me or email me and let me know. Otherwise, if you have already logged in to the test, I will also have your email, and I'll share you the first 3 to 5 days. I will give the book away for special interested as a courtesy for your interest. So it will just be $1 those few days. So we have already gone through this, that there are 2 options. You can either go with option 1 or option 2. So now I would like you to decide. If you want to fill the test now, you will be in the option 1. And you just stay online with us, stay with us in the Zoom meeting, but you log into the website, and I'll show you how you do that right away. So let's see if we can get this fellow away here. So this is, I need to log out of this one here. So you can all, those that want to do the test now, you just go to 12secretlanguages.com. I'm not, we're clients right now. So then you will get a front page like this. If you haven't signed up, you click on this and you fill your data. If you have already created your profile, and I can see a lot of you have done that, you just fill it, log in here, and you'll get to the front page. So this is the home page. Here there's a small video presenting the 12 secret languages. The book link will come here, and you click to start test here. And there's a little introduction here in the beginning. What is the most important thing is that in each statement, there are question 1 here, 1A and 1B, there are 2 statements held up against each other. The most important thing probably is to notice that you can only share 2 points in each. That means that, let's say you give 1 point in 1A, you can only give 1 point in 1B. And if you find out that 1B is by far the most correct statement for you, I naturally talk more than I listen, then you have to give 0 in 1A. And like that, you fill, so this one is maybe equal. In this way here, you fill 66 questions. You have half an hour to do it. At the bottom here, I'm just scrolling down. At the bottom here, you just click submit for result, and instantly it'll be calculated. There's a small explanation here, but now, of course, I have not given 132 points as we're supposed to do. But You can instantly see the result, whether you are more visual, auditive, and psychosomatic. And this relates to the book. I'll get back to that. And you can also see individually here with the 12 secret languages, which ones you are scoring higher in and which you're scoring lower in. We have already done a couple of cases. As I mentioned, Dr. Veena and Shiv Kumar, we've done a couple of coaching sessions. I'll walk through a few of the highlights, a few of the conclusions that we made, and I'll also compare them a little, so that's quite interesting. So those of you who have already have made the test, you just try to compare check your own test results, and try and compare a little what we talk about and see how you can pick up also on some interesting stuff. So let's see here. We'll just go back to the PPT. So all of you that want to do the test now, you feel welcome. You just log into the website as presented. For the rest of us, I will make a quick recap. Or those of you who are new here, can you just text if you are new? Can you just type new in the text box if this is the first time you are joining? If you did not join in the webinar in October, you just text the word new. Yeah, Vijaya Priya K. Kapoor, yes, very good. Yeah, yes, this is perfect. You're very welcome. So I will make a little quick walkthrough of how our memory is actually built, and how that actually leads to us having certain memory personalities. So this is the website we have already seen. So let's start out straight away to discuss a little how our memory works. So what I have done over the last 20 years is that I have been researching in the results from neuroscience, learning theories, heart-brain connection research, the science of meditation, a lot of different personality profiling psychologies, amongst others, neuro-linguistic programming, meta programs, but also studied a lot about practical memory techniques, or MTechs as I called it, which are mostly not theories, but based on practical experience. So the book and the presentation I'm doing now is based on all this research I have done over the last 20 years, actually. And now everything is coming together in this book. And there will be there'll be a series of books. The first one is about memory, but as you could see in the beginning, our memory personality affects all walks of life. So there will be a book about communication, about team and team roles, conflict resolution, probably job profiling. So whatever area the 12 secret languages affects, I'm going to cover that over the coming years. So how does our memory actually work? Basically, we can say that the memory creation happens in 3 phases. The first phase is that we receive information. The second is that we have to store that information. And then, of course, the most important phase is that you should be able to retrieve it also. But let's try and drill a little down in depth and try and understand how our physical anatomy actually makes it possible for us to receive, store, and retrieve information. So I'm going to walk you through this little, this one here. I'm going to walk you through this little visual here. And you can see again here in the top, there's a phase of receiving information, there's a phase of storing information, and there's a phase of retrieving information. But don't be scared. Now we're going to take it step by step so that it's easy to follow what is going on. So what we know from neuroscience is that the physical body, inside and outside, is receiving several million bits of information per second. If you have a peripheral vision right now, just try to imagine how many colors you are actually able to see, how many color nuances you are able to see, and imagine how much information the body is actually trying to take in every second. I mean, some talk about 10 million bits of information per second. So that's what we have visualized here with the drops. You can see on the drawing here, these are all bits of information. And I'm using water as a metaphor. That's why I call it drops. Inside, you are also having some internal information. I mean, you might re-see something you have seen before to your inner eye. You might rehear or think about something you have heard before. You might have some physical sensations that is going on inside, maybe completely without connection to what is going on in the outer world. Surely many of you right now are experiencing things inside. Yes, that's funny. So many of you will be experiencing things inside. You'll be listening to what I say, but some of you will also be thinking about it. You might think, that I don't think that is true, for instance. And then you will say, okay, I'll listen a little more. Or some of you say, yes, I remember that I've already heard about. So basically, we get an immense amount of information, and we are not at all able to cope with that much information. Obviously, 10 million bits of pieces of information per second, and it's also not needed. Probably we can boil it down to 5 or 7 pieces of information that is actually needed for us. So to not boil over, so to say, there is a lot of filtering going on, as you can see here. So just a few drops are actually coming through here. Now, with our sensory organs, the 5 known senses, I add another layer, which I call the psyche, or which is the emotions and the feelings. I'm considering that as a major receiver also. So basically what I have done is that I have, for the simplicity, I have made 3 different kinds of receivers. These are the 3 most important receivers. So as you can see, the eyes, the visual eye, and it is the physical eye, but it's also your inner eye and your capacity to play videos or photographs inside your head. Then we have the auditive senses, or the auditive receivers. That is, of course, your ears, but it's also your mouth, because when you make sound, you will also hear. And it's also your inner conversation, your thoughts, because that is also sounds, but just inside your head. And then we have the third category, the third type of receivers, which I call the psychosomatic. So the psyche is all the emotions and the feelings, and the soma is the physical bodily sensations that we have. So I have clubbed this together. So in general, you could say that the psychosomatic receivers, this is our own perception. That is how we perceive ourselves. The visual, we mostly perceive information from outside, and the auditive is kind of building the bridge, you could say. So this is a little rough way of explaining it. Let's try and see, once we have received information, what happens then? Well, again, there's a lot of filtering. Because again, still we cannot handle that much information as we are getting. So you can see here symbolically I have shown that depending on what you concentrate on, now right now I assume you're concentrating on me, but I'm sure there are activities going on around you also. There might be some people in the neighbor room or maybe even beside you. But if your concentration is on this, you can understand this lady here, she's trying to control what information she's trying to take in. So through concentration and through selection, we again filter a lot of information out. Now, the first step after receiving the information, the first step is that we try to store it in our short-term memory. The short-term memory is lasting maybe a couple of minutes. And once it has gone into the long-term memory, it can be stored. Long-term memory can be hours or days or weeks or years for that matter. That depends a little on how much focus you give on it or how strong your intuition is. Now, after receiving it, the next phase is storing it. And there are basically 2 ways we can store it. Either it is intuitive, which is in learning theories we know as a diffused state, or it is with our intellect. We can store the information, which is called a focused state. So you can see symbolically, if we are intuitively storing information, we are just floating in it, floating in the water drops or the information drops, and unknowingly, like cream, if you put cream on your body, the moist will absorb in your body. That is what I'm trying to compare intuition with. Now, when it comes to your intellect, that's symbolized here with you putting the information in a cup, putting it to the mouth, drinking and swallowing it. So there is a thinking process behind that once you try to store using your intellect. So these two ways here are the basic ways that we can store information. Now, once we come to the most important part where we're going to retrieve the information, we have basically two ways of triggering information. Either it can happen extrovert, like right now I'm a source of extrovert information, so you're receiving all the information from me, but you will also receive some information from inside, introvert right now. So maybe you are remembering some of the things. Okay, he said something about diffuse state. He mentioned from neuroscience something about short-term memory and long-term memory. So some of you have probably heard these terms before. So there'll be some kind of introvert process going on inside you also. So, but when we are going to recall something or retrieve something, this whole process here is important. And this process is also how our memory personality is created, because we don't give equal emphasis to all three phases. Let's try and see how these 12 secret languages actually knowingly or unknowingly exist in us. So you can see again here, we have the same lady that we saw before. You can see we have just flipped her around. So now we're trying to see what is going on inside her. So she's receiving information here, and that can come in those basic three categories: visual, auditive, and psychosomatic. So either we will store some visual eyesight information. It can be extrovert or introvert. You have your inner eye where you'll play some videos, of course. You can store auditive information, or you can store psychosomatic information. For instance, maybe you have already decided if you like or you don't like me. And obviously, if you feel I'm pleasant to look at, you'll be a little more prone to listen and digest and have the trust that I can actually give access to some information that can be helpful to you. So that's a psychosomatic feeling, a psychic feeling. Or maybe right now, somatic, you are sitting on a chair and you're feeling comfortable, or need a little more fan because you feel it's a little hot in the room. So those informations we will be taking in. But most of us, we have some favorites, or we have some low priorities. And that is based on our upbringing, it's based on our training, our education, and also on the interest we have on the way. And over time, it will also change depending on your priority and your focus. But let's try and see what happens once we start mixing the receive of the storage option. You can see here that once we reach the storing phase, there are again two options, right? You can store the visual information intuitive, or you can store it intellectual. Intuitive, it's like the image before where you're just floating in it. Here, this fellow here is floating in a river. Again, I'm using water, as you can see, as a metaphor for the flow inside us. So here, intuitive, we are just floating in the information. And here, we're using the intellect to drink and consciously take in the information. So visually, we can do it intuitive or intellectual. Auditive, we can do it intuitive or intellectual. And psychosomatic, we can do it intuitive and intellectual. So that ends up coming from three different priorities. We can certainly have 6 different priorities. Can you follow what I'm talking about? Just text yes if you're with me so far. If you have any questions, we will have a Q&A in the end. But if it is something urgent and you're completely lost, we will take it right away. Yeah, that's good. Thank you very much. I can see some of you are telling me yes. If anybody is in doubt, you just type no. I just want to know a little about what is going on with you guys. Okay, but it looks like you're pretty okay. So we can see here, these 6 options are suddenly here. And again, some of us will be more visually intuitive, and some of us will be more visual intellectual. Like that, there are these 6 options. Now, if we continue to the third memory phase, the retrieval, as we already discussed, we can either retrieve introvert, and you can see the greenhouse inside the lady here, or we can retrieve extrovert, like she's pouring water in the greenhouse outside. Again, it's the water metaphor I'm trying to reuse. So once the introvert and the extrovert options flow together, again, the river will split up in actually 12 separate streams. You can see here, right? So some will be more visual intuitive introvert, some will be more visual intellectual introvert, or visual intellectual extrovert. And out of this, we actually get these 12 secret languages, which are shaping our lives in a way that I think we don't have any clue about. That's why I call them the secret languages. We use all of them. Unless we have some serious handicap, we will use all. Obviously, if you are blind, you will not have visual extrovert experiences. But you can still have visual introvert experience. You can still see videos and images inside your head. But if you are a normal functioning person, which here I calculate maybe 90, 98, 99% will be, you will actually experience all 12 languages. But some of them you will be stronger in than others. And that is where it becomes really interesting, because it's actually a strength you have. And if you learn to utilize that, you will become even stronger than you are today. And it's something that is easy for you because you already have the strength, right? It's just about directing it. It's just about directing it so that you get more benefit out of the capacity you have. Now, there is, of course, also in the other end. I mean, you can have some favorite. There'll be some, once you have done the test, you'll see there are some you get a high score, and there will be some that you have a low score in. Now, the low scores or the challenging languages we might have, they can also be interesting to take a look at, because they might block you. It might be the reason why you cannot unfold your potentially fully as it is right now. But what I want to highlight and what I really want to stress is there are no right or wrong languages. They are just different. So this is not a tool to judge yourself or judge others for that matter. He's like that or she's like this. It is not at all like that. We have to understand we are individuals, and we will be needing different languages depending on our situation. Now, what I assume that most of us sitting here together today will be needing is some kind of psychosomatic intellectual introvert. I believe many of us will get high scores in the emotional analyst. Because we have this psychological background, we will have had to train this one here a lot. You can probably follow me in this. It will be interesting to see once we get some test results. It's interesting to see on the 2 cases if this is actually going to show like that. But let's try and continue a little onwards. So this is a different way of showing the 12 secret languages. This is what I call the star. And basically it just means that now we're talking about the emotional analyst. Maybe that part of the star will be shining more if you have a high score. The way that it has been presented here is that you can see the four visual receivers, the 4 visual languages. They are shown here. They are all including an eye. You can see the 4 auditive languages. They are all including a head. And the 4 psychosomatic languages, they are all including bodies, physical bodies, right? You can see here the introvert categories, they have a smaller shape, and the extrovert has a bigger shape, because introverts take less space than extroverts, and extroverts take more space than introvert. So that's why I have created nearly double size. So you can, this is for the designer, and for the simple analyst, this is a simple analyst. I'm showing a design here, right? Trying to express how the world is looking. And you're trying to understand, analyze the symbols to understand, okay, what simple analyst, oh, okay, yeah. So, okay, yes, and visualize, okay, yeah, there's a pencil stroke here, yeah. So you can also, where can we keep this so it's not disturbing so much? Here you can again see the 12 different categories. 1, 2, 3, 4, these are all the visuals coming here. And you have the 4 auditives coming here. And you have the 4 psychosomatics coming here. And then you can see the intuitive languages are the first 2 columns here. And the intellectual languages are the 2 next columns here. And then you have the intuitive in this column. You have the intuitive extrovert in this column here. So you can quickly, while I'm talking here, you can probably quickly see how each one of them, how they are unique. You can just take a quick glance at it while I'm talking here, and you can see what are their characteristics. Very, very simply expressed, what is the characteristic they have, each one of them. So I can see we have spent approximately 20 minutes since we sent the group out for doing the test. Those of you who are doing the test, if you have not finished the test, never mind, I would like you to come back to us now. If you have finalized the test, nothing like it, but I would like you to come and join. Everybody come and join now, because now we're going to take a look on the effects of a memory personality. Understand with certain memory personalities, how is that going to affect your life? And how can you grow knowing this information? So what are your strengths and what are your growth potentials? So as mentioned a couple of times, we have done 2 case studies as a preparation for this webinar here. Veena and Shiv Kumar, I did individual sessions with them after they had done the personal test. We walked through their test results and we did some analysis of it. And we came up with some discussion about strengths and growth potentials. And they have, both of them have agreed to share with you guys so that you can also learn a little from it. So let's try and see. I'm comparing the 2 case studies. I'm putting them beside each other. It's just because it's a little interesting to see that sometimes we are the same, sometimes we are different, right? So I have put the 3 high scorers for Veena here and the 3 high scorers for Shiv Kumar here. So as you can see here, Veena's by far top scorer is the listener. Actually, she has given, every time there has been a question and the listener has been there, she has given 2 points every single time. And in the test, I don't know if you realize, but every language are held up against all other 11 languages, so that you're confronting every language with each other to try and see where are your strengths, to better see where your strengths and where are your challenges. So as you can see here, she has a far majority of points in the listener. This is her clear number 1. You can see with Shiv Kumar, his emotional analyst is the top scorer with 19 points. But you can already see here with Veena that the emotional analyst comes in as a 2nd place with 15 points. And Shiv Kumar has the organizer and the designer with equal 13 points. Here there's equal 15 points. If we look at the low score, we'll get a little back now. Right now, I'm just presenting you the test scores. I mean, you can see how this is Shiv Kumar's distribution of the receivers. Here you can see the detailed score. So that's exactly how it's going to show when you do the test. You will get this on the test page. Now I'm presenting it here, and you can see how the low scores are placed here for Veena. You can see that the simple analyst is the absolute low scorer. That's has a 12th place, you could say, with only 3% or 3 points. And you can see with Shiv Kumar that the viewer and the listener sharing 11th and the 12th place. So this is roughly an understanding of how the points are distributed. Of course, now I need to make a little disclaimer. Of course, we cannot put people on a formula. That goes without saying. We are much too complex on that. So what we are trying to find out if there are certain tendencies that can be helpful to keep an eye on. That's what we're going to do now, and see how can this be helpful for Veena and Shiv Kumar. And you try and pick up if you have anything that looks a little like this. You try also to listen in and see if this could be interesting for you. So the first language, individual language, we will take a look at is the Emotional Analyst. After we have taken a look on the individual language, we'll also look on the three different phases: receiving, storing, and retrieving, because there is also sometimes important information stored, which kind of categories you're stronger in. So the Emotional Analyst, you could see that both Veena had this as a second score and Shiv Kumar as a first score. And I think it's pretty basic that we need to be good. We need to have high scores. We need to be very comfortable with using Emotional Analyst languages. So basic, that is feeling and understanding what is going on in our clients or students. So the second language, which was interesting to take a look at, was the listener, because as you already saw, Veena has an absolute top score in the listener. So that is also a very good support, can be a very good support to be a good psychologist, because it means that you're good in collecting information. It means you're good in sensing the person's tone, the use of the tone, which is also telling about the emotions, right? And you'll be perceived as empathic and patient and likable and trustable. So this can be actually a very good thing to train. Now, what is very interesting is that when we look on Shiv Kumar, you could see here his low score is actually listener. The viewer and the listener is the absolute low scorer, right? So they are sharing an 11th at the 12th place. So I don't know with Shiv Kumar, he knows better if there is any growth potential for him here, he will only be able to tell. But if we look on the test result alone, the risk, now I put it a little in red, the risk is that if you don't listen, you can seem a little dominating, a little self-centered, or uninterested, if you were the client, say. The third language that is a little interesting to take a look at is the organizer, because Shiv Kumar, now we have already looked on the first and second place with Veena. So Shiv Kumar's first place is the Emotional Analyst, and his second place is the organizer. Now, the organizer is very important if you're a leader, if you want to lead groups, if you want to lead classes, if you have a company. I don't know about Shiv Kumar. I think you are involved in stuff like that, Shiv Kumar, as I understood. So it's very helpful for you to have a high score in that. You can see with Veena, she's placed somewhere in the middle, a little in the low end, the score. So that probably means she will not normally take so much the driving seat. She might be in groups and all, but she might accept others if they want to be the leader. You better know, Veena. I cannot say anything. You are smiling, so I can see you're accepting. I'm telling like that. So now what is interesting, of course, is when it comes to the learning formats, right? How can we make good use of knowing that Veena, she is a high scorer in listener? What can she use that information for? Now, let's try and look on some learning formats. When Veena, she is in learning situations or she wants to remember something, there are certain learning formats that fits with the viewer, listener, and the feeler I am representing here. These are all the introvert, intuitive, and actually, without exception, Veena has very high scores in all three of these here. So she's a quite intuitive introvert person. Now, when she wants to learn, since the listener has a very high score, it can be very helpful for her to study this list here and make sure that she can tick as many as possible of these off when she's trying to learn something. Listen carefully to the teacher, remove disturbing noise, listen to audio recordings of any kind. Notice different words, wordplays, intonation, rhymes, rhythm. Have others read aloud or audio record yourself and replay it. So this could be some learning formats that that I would definitely suggest Veena to be alert about. In general, these three learning styles here will be very easy for Veena, and therefore it's a strength to make use of it. It's basically, I think many of you are from Tamil Nadu, so speaking Tamil is your native language, right? So using the secret languages that are your favorites is like using your native language. As soon as you start using, now if you start using Simple Analyst for Veena, for instance, that will be like using a completely strange language that she's not much familiar with. I don't know Veena now, I'm just in generalizing, right? So that is anyway what the test score is saying. And with the languages in between, that might be, now Tamil is a little close to Telugu, I think, and maybe some Malayalam. So you can recognize some words, but you might not be fully comfortable with that language. The same with English. You might be able to understand, but you will not be as comfortable and as confident as if you speak Tamil, obviously, right? So when you use your favorite languages, you'll benefit in learning situations by using the learning formats that matches those strengths that you have. Now let's try and take a look on Shiv Kumar's favorite, and it is also a high score with Veena. So when you want, as a strong emotional analyst, if you want to learn, you try to use these learning formats here. First thing, create a positive feeling about the teacher. That's what I actually mentioned before, and it was not coincidentally. Be clear about your goals and how it will help in your life. If you're clear where you're going with this, you will also emotionally be more interested in it. Understand the emotional effects of the teaching. What and where does it fit in your life? Understand physical effects also, because you remember this is the psychosomatic, it's the emotional feeling side, but it is also the body sensations. So self-reflect, find real life examples that explains what you're learning. Again, it's about creating emotions and understanding those emotions. Then imagine the effect of practically implementing it in your life. Even before you do it, you just re-experience the feeling in you or the bodily sensation of how it will be once you have done it, and develop inner psychosomatic memory techniques in feelings and physical experiences. In the book, I'm giving some examples of how these memory techniques works and how they match the different categories. So you can already see here that the first round is to understand, depending on your memory personality and your favorite secret languages, you will have certain favorite learning formats also. Now we'll go a little deeper into it. We'll try and see with the receivers. Again, we could see here with Veena, she's actually high score in auditive, and Shiv Kumar is the high score in the psychosomatic. Now, it doesn't mean that you are not using because you're high score in auditive, you might also still be high score in psychosomatic. So, but this is just the first scorer, right? The auditive. Now, when it comes to the test you're doing online, you will see this calculation done. So, Veena, I think you have 50 points here. You have high 40s here, and you would have down in the 30s here, as I recall. So, and on the other hand, that Shiv Kumar, he has the high score in psychosomatic. So you will instantly, when you go in the test, you will instantly get a test result that is divided up in these three receivers, because that's how the book is structured, that depending on what kind of receiver strength you have, you will match certain memory techniques to that. Now, what I already mentioned with Veena is that she's very high scored in the intuitive introvert categories. These are the viewer and the listener and the feeler. So these are introvert, intuitive. She has a remarkably high score in that. And that one of the effects of this can be that people, because she's extremely good at receiving information in a subconscious, in an intuitive way, she might be perceived as a person that have a sixth sense. She'll be very good, now I'm talking in general, you correct me if I'm wrong, Veena, but she'll be very good in contact with herself and how she experiences herself and the surroundings. And that's probably also why some people will feel drawn to her and take her advice, because they consider her as a person making healthy decisions. But she will have some kind of sixth sense. She'll know relatively easy what is right and wrong for herself. So this is related to how we communicate with people, right? Now, I have added a little something here on the team role, because sometimes there is a strength. We have already discussed how important listening is when it comes to, if you want to be a good psychologist, right? Otherwise, you might have some other strengths. You might be strong in the intellect and knowing a lot of theories. But when it comes to Veena, she's very strong in the intuitive introvert languages. And what can be a challenge? Now, I don't know if this is correct, Veena, but a challenge with the intuitive introvert when they're in teams is that it can be difficult to express one's opinions and be heard. And maybe you don't get the career advancements and rewards deserved. I don't know if this is correct at all, but it can be shown in different ways and shapes. Now, how can it be helpful to know this? Well, I'll get back to that down here when we're looking at the potential development. Likewise, when it comes to Shiv Kumar, he has a very high score in the intellect, relatively high score. And it means that he's probably studying psychological theories and designs. Now, what we're sharing here is basically a design, right? And it's also a theory. Nevertheless, it's based on the understanding, the common understanding we have of the human and how we create memory and how that affects our personality. So let's try and have a look on the potential development and what options are there. How can Veena and Shiv Kumar use this on a higher level? Well, when it comes to utilize the existing strength, the existing potential, it seems like Veena has a very strong intuition and that she can trust that. So that can maybe be a good guidance for Veena to just maybe trust her intuition a little more. Of course, if it is wrong, we can always redo it and adjust it. But in the test result, it shows that she can trust the intuition. When it comes to Shiv Kumar, he seems to be very good in learning through feelings. His top scorer was the Emotional Analyst. So this could be very good for him to be a little alert about trying to learn through feelings. And I already showed here, I mean, that's what we walked through here with the learning formats, right? Here is a list of different learning formats that matches that style. Now, when it comes to the growth potential, there are different ways to look at this, Veena. But now I have just written it here, market yourself and needs, yourself and whatever needs you have. Now, how do we do that? Well, then you can step into some other languages. But typically, you will have to go into intellect and the extroverts. And that will be in this case here, the debater and the organizer can be very good to keep an eye on. That you prepare yourself intellectually and that you express yourself extrovertly so that you get your needs covered. I know that many of us are doing the work out of our values and our good hearts, but nevertheless, at the end of the day, we also have a family that we need to provide for and we need to have an income. So now when it comes to the growth potential for Shiv Kumar, again, I don't know, Shiv Kumar, if this is correct, but it could maybe be a potential to use your other senses a little more, maybe especially the listening skills. It could be interesting maybe to experiment with it and see how that works. So this is basically the three different angles we have been able to take. I can see time is running. We don't have much time left. We were a little delayed from the beginning, and I apologize for that. But this is basically what we were able to walk through today. There are different ways to take a look at the memory personality, but this is what we can manage today. So if there are any questions or if there are any comments, I'll be happy to take that now.
Thank you so much, Dan, for that excellent presentation and also giving us two examples of how you could get benefited through the 12 secret languages and how you could improve your learning and memory techniques. Thank you so much. Participants, the floor is open for question and answers. You could put in the chat box or you could unmute yourself and ask the questions.
Maybe Veena, you could start if you don't mind. Without going into details, but do you feel overall that what we walk through here is telling some information that is interesting for you?
Yes, then the test was quite interesting, and like I said, it gave an opportunity to really know what my potentials are, and it really gives everyone an opportunity to introspect themselves and also to find out their strengths and to build on that, and also the areas where they need to work on. So definitely this is going to help them, and if they have any sort of uh, if they are stuck at particular thing, probably there could be some techniques which could be helpful for them to overcome those barriers. So I personally felt very good when I took this test, and also like sometimes it was like, oh my God, whether I am a good listener or whether I have the visual capacity. So I myself, I started to question myself. So this is one test where I really took some time to introspect myself, and I really felt very good, and I'm really happy that the results also were no re- were very much what I am. So I'm pretty much happy about it. Because it said that I go by my instincts. So I always have this gut feeling, and I always follow that. So the results came that you have your intuition as your strength. So
I could thank you very much, Veena. I also enjoyed the session with both you and Shiv Kumar a lot. So I could see there was one question where they're asking where can we get the book, and it's gonna be released both as an ebook and as a paperback on Amazon. That's also what the question was asking, if it's in Amazon. Yes, it will come in Amazon both as an ebook and the ebook I will sell that for $1 or just give it away for free basically the first couple of days, and that is actually just thanks to you guys for all of those of you who have shown some interest. So if you're quick, you can get it pretty much for free. So those of you that are taking the test, it can be a very good follow-up to buy the book and try and see how it. You see, the first book here is about memory improvement, right? As you can see here. So once you have the test score, you will be able to guide yourself through how to improve your own memory. In the book itself, as you can see, there are 15 laser-targeted memory techniques. And depending on your receiver strength, I mean, are you more visual, auditive, or psychosomatic, you can pick out specific memory techniques that fit you better. So it's really tailor-made for the people. It's a very practical book.
is then we have a couple of questions in the chat box. One is,
Yeah.
can you tell more about what about the intuition, and also um, the other question is like how to find the personality traits. Probably they are asking for the questionnaire. The questionnaire has been sent in the WhatsApp groups, and you could take that questionnaire for yourself.
Yeah, you can try and see here what I'm offering after this one here. No, the question is, how can you benefit more from your new knowledge? So after the webinar, what I'm offering is that if you share your thoughts, if you go and do the test and try and do it correctly, right? You should have 132 points at the end. Otherwise, the test result will not be accurate, actually. You can share your thoughts about your own test result on my WhatsApp. I'll be happy to try and take a look at it. You just share the email ID that you're using when you log into the test, because then I'll, in the admin end, I'll be able to go back and see your test result. And I'll try to respond to all of you. Last time it was a little overwhelming, but I enjoyed every minute of it, I must say. So I would love that if people, if they share what their own findings are, and I might be able to give a little input here and there. But basically, normally I will do this in these kind of coaching sessions here, which are paid normally. So that is normally how I help people on an individual level. Otherwise, it's the book, right, that you can get for $1 the first couple of days. And I'm planning to release it in the first half of March. And I'll keep everybody updated. Those of you who has done the test, or if you have logged in and made a profile, I will email you and just let you know so that you can avail the opportunity if you're interested. There are a few questions, as you also know, Dr. Veena, before the coaching session. Normally, I ask people 5 questions, and those of you who wants to dive a little deeper, I will share those 5 questions also, and that will also help you to self-reflect a little more. So, that was one of the questions, Dr. Veena. Was there another one also?
The other one was, can you elaborate on intuition?
Yeah, the intuition. Let's try and have a look on the visual here. So I think we'll go back to. We'll just take this one here. So we have already discussed about the 3 receiver categories, and then we have the 2 categories of storers. Now, there are roughly 2 ways of storing information. One is the intuitive way, and the intuitive way is a subconscious way, where the intellect is a conscious way of storing information. You see, many of us right now, we are trusting our intuition. When I'm talking all these things here, many of us are trusting your intuition. If you start taking notes, or if you start self-reflecting and start thinking about what is it Dan is saying, how is that affecting me, you start involving the intellect. But you see, I would estimate that 90% of our memory, if not more, is intuitive memory. I mean, we have a huge database of intuitive information that we are not aware of. See, the strength with intuition is that you can store endlessly. Whereas, of course, if you have to involve your intellect, you need to spend time on it, and it's more time consuming. But the strength with using the intellect is that you will become conscious about how you can pull that information up, how you can remember that information. If you compare us with a computer, you could say that the hard drive is where we store our information. Now, to be able to find, you know, from your own computers, if it should be easy for you to find information on your computer, it's a good idea to create a folder with a unique name. Inside the folder, it's a good idea to create a file with a unique name. Now, if you don't have a unique name, neither as a folder and a file, and everything is just lying on your hard drive, it is very difficult to find a file or a folder once you need it. Can you follow that metaphor? Now, that's why if you trust your intuition, and that is something I must say that I have worked personally, I have worked a lot on, because I'm purely from I grew up in an intellectual family, and I studied economy, and I was political active. It was all intellectual activities. I started neuro-linguistic programming. I did a lot of trainings, which was all the training of the intellect. But at some 25 years ago, midway in my life, I realized the need to create a better balance. So the way I found was I started meditating. And basically, in my experience, meditation is a way to connect better with yourself. It is about learning about what is going on inside you, what you have already stored inside you. It is also where a lot of our creativity comes from. When we are in a situation where we need, let's say, I don't know how many of you works as counselors, but say you are in a counseling situation and you are in a situation where you don't know the solution. You don't know which step to take from here. What do you do? I mean, where does the inspiration come from? It will be from your intuition mostly. Unless you have prepared something, of course. Before the session, you might have sat down and thought these things might be relevant. See, when I used to, I have done a lot of presentation. I'm an author of 3 different books, all about memory techniques and how our memory works. And when I was doing the sessions, I have done more than 1,000 sessions. I prepared roughly 3 times as much content as I needed, because it gave me the freedom, seemingly, that I could intuitively, I could follow wherever people in the audience, they wanted the discussion to go. I would always be ready and prepared for it. Can you follow that? So I prepared actually on an intellectual level, I prepared 3 times as much content as I knew I could possibly talk about. But it was to be able to match the need of the hour once I was in the presentation. So intuition can, of course, help us in the situations where we don't have the answer, right? But the problem with intuition is that we are not in control of it when it comes and when it doesn't work for us. I mean, probably many of us, we know the situation where we might be in a quite important situation. It might be in a sales situation or a personal important situation. It can be in networking where you want to create some relations that are important with you. It can also be in a job interview, for that matter, where you're really depending on getting the information immediately when it's relevant, right? But sometimes we fail, right? Probably many of us have experienced that we walk out from a meeting and we know we did not perform up to our best. And those things, of course, shape our life, obviously, right? That's why sometimes when I'm giving these talks here, I'm asking people to try to make a thought experiment. Imagine if all the training you have taken and all the teaching you have received through the years of your life, imagine if all the important parts were stored so you had contact with them, you could retrieve them according to your need. Imagine how your life would look like. Because there are many moments of truth in our life. Some of them is when we are performing up to our best potential, but some of them are also when we don't perform up to our full potential, and we don't get the opportunities that we actually know we deserve or we could fulfill. So that's why I keep working on this topic about memory. That's why I find it extremely fascinating, and I'm so passionate about that topic. Sometimes I call myself a growth consultant or a growth catalyst that just help people to grow. I don't know if there is there more specific question related to intuition, or is this covering okay what the question was about?
it was about to elaborate on intuition, and I think you have given the elaborated expansion of intuition with live examples as well. That's really very appreciable. Thank you so much, and I think the participants would be eagerly waiting to take the test and know, really know what are their strengths or what is their secretive language, and definitely, and thanks for this session, Dan, once again. And if you could tap send your contact details or mail id or whatever, the participants make avail of that. And the chat box is flooding with lot of positive feedbacks. So
Yeah, I think I'll just, you can see here, this is my WhatsApp number. I'll just keep the screen open.
yes, yes,
So that will be easy. Some of you, I can also email. Now I have your email IDs. I can
yes,
reach out through mail, but WhatsApp is so convenient and so easy, and it's easy to write the number
yes.
down correctly also. So those of you who are interested, you just send me a WhatsApp message, and I'll be happy to be in contact with you. Just remember to write your name along with the first message and where we met, and it'll be easy.
Yes, and there is an elaborated message from Shiv Kumar sir regards to how he felt about taking this test. Sir Shiv Kumar sir, a few words from you would be helpful for the
That would
participants
be
as well.
lovely. Are you there, Shiv Kumar? Can you switch off your microphone, switch on your microphone, Shiv Kumar, if you're there with us? Can you see if he's there, Veena?
Yeah, I'm just checking Dan. There is some network issue with him.
Yeah, I can see he's here as far as I can see. Are you there with us, Shiv Kumar?
Okay, 1 second, sir. 1 second.
Veena, he's asking for unmute.
Yeah, yeah, I'm just sending them. Sir, I have sent the request. You can unmute yourself and say a few words. Shiv Kumar sir.
Yes, yes, sir. Yeah, now I can talk.
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you, Veena ma'am. Yeah, Mr. Dan. Yeah, I'm very happy with the assessment what you have done for me and Dr. Veena. I'm grateful to you for your this mostly more than 2 decade research, or out of which you have created these 12 secret languages, which will be holistically will be assessing, means unconsciously, what is our profile and how we behave and how where it is just like a SWOT analysis, through which we can come to know what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses. So it will help us to explore ourselves and to know, because as a professional, we may not be knowing whether we are doing, whether we are moving in the right direction or not. So, especially Mr. Dan's this 12 secret language, these questionnaires are really so means critical, and they are be evaluating to find out your inner strengths, weaknesses, and all. So it will help us with this, and I'm very much thankful for him for my assessment and Dr. Veena's also. So I'm looking forward, sir, for you to come out
Thank
for
you.
all walks of life.
Thank you, Shiv Kumar. I think you make a very valid
I
point.
wish you all the success for your research.
Thank you, Shiv Kumar. I think you make a very valid point. The thing is that the eye cannot see the eye. I can easily, in my
Yes,
spouse, I
yes,
can
yes.
see all her mistakes, and I
Yeah,
can't even
true,
see
sir.
one in myself, right? So
Yeah,
it is helping us to do some self-reflection, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I think actually also for our humility, I think because we are used to guide so many people, right? Like it
Right,
can
right.
actually be helpful sometimes to go in the other role and be the one who's being helped and supported
Mhm.
and strengthened by others. So I think you're making some very good comments there, Shiv Kumar. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
you
all
for
for taking your
joining.
time to join.
Yes.
No, no, not a issue, sir. And I'm also thankful for joining on such a good platform, whereby many of our professionals and like-minded people will be having more this thing, insightful journey and knowledge and all, sir. So I'm thankful even to this Madurai College, Mr. Suresh and Dr. Veena. They are doing a wonderful job by bringing such a authorities like you and many others in the session, and it is journey is continuing. I think now they are crossing almost 367 360 sessions, more than that. So I congratulate them, so thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the kind words, Shiv Kumar, sir. And thank you, Dan, for that excellent session you have taken today. And I'm sure the participants would have really enjoyed each moment of this session. Now is the time for vote of thanks, and who other than our Dr. Chandra to do the honors. So I call upon Dr. Chandra to please place vote of thanks for today's wonderful speaker, Dan.
Thank you, Veena. Dan, sir, it was really a wonderful session because I can imagine how much effort you have invested in bringing out this questionnaire to make an easy piece of cake to most of us. So very well done for that. And in the last session conducted by us on memory generation, that was by you, I attended the test that time. And even then, you were so nice to discuss with me the outcomes of the test, and it was really useful also to me personally. So I think you have motivated many people today also to take up the test and understand better also in the memory perspective of personality assessment. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for assessing Dr. Veena and Mr. Shiv Kumar sir's result and bringing out a better presentation of what has to be told to the participants. Thank you also for that. And I also thank all the participants for being with us in the session today. And thank you, Shiv Kumar sir, for your wonderful feedback about the session and also about the core team. Thank you so much for that. So thank you one and all who have been present this evening and making this evening a beautiful one. See you all tomorrow in yet another session on another link. Bye-bye. Good
Dr.
night.
Chandra, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.